Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the narration of Parama Ekādaśī from the Skanda Purana. These Ekadashi series, stories, I recorded during the previous years. Last year. And it came to my attention last Ekadashi that today is a leap year. And I had not made any recording for the last Ekadashi. Since it's a leap year, there's an extra month, which means 2 extra Ekadashis, if I'm not wrong, and this is one of those. So Parama Ekādaśī narration from the Skanda Purana. So we shall begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you very much for attending this. Not attending, it's not live. I'm recording it on StreamYard, which is the program that we use for streaming, but we can also use it for recording, and I will be uploading it later on. So thank you very much for listening to this narration. So we shall begin. We shall share. Let me see if it's possible to share the entire screen of this PDF here. So this is Paramā Ekādaśī. Yudhishthir Maharaj said, "O Supreme Lord, what is the name and character of that Ekadashi that occurs during the dark fortnight of the extra leap year month? Also, O Master of all the universes, what is the process for observing it properly? Kindly narrate all of this to me." The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, replied, "O Yudhishthira, this meritorious day is called Paramā Ekādaśī. It bestows the great benediction of an enjoyable life and ultimate liberation, released from birth and death. The process for observing it is similar to that for observing the Ekadashi that occurs during the light part of the month of Kartika. That is to say, on this Ekadashi one should worship me, the best of all living beings, with full love and devotion. In this connection, I will now tell you a wonderful history, just as I heard it from the great sage in the city of Kampilya." So here, again, the Supreme Lord is narrating this wonderful narration to Maharaj Yudhishthir. These Ekadashi stories are found in different Puranas, Skanda Purana. I believe most of them, I've lost memory of when it used to be. Most of them are in actually, okay, here this one is Skanda Purana also. The previous Ekadashi also that I did not do was also Skanda Purana. Some of them are from there, some of them are from, you see, this one, Haribodhini Ekadashi, is found in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Yeah. So the Brahma Vaivarta Purana also contains a lot of history, but all these Ekadashi stories, although they are scattered through different Puranas, I believe almost all of them are narrated by Lord Shri Krishna to Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was simply asking one by one about the glories of every single Ekadashi. And the Lord, so here now the Lord is saying, just as I heard it from the great sage in the city of Kampilya. So the Lord is showing by example that he has heard from authority, and he will be narrating exactly the same thing. The Lord is the source of all the Vedas. So the Lord, being the origin of Vedic literature, knows obviously these histories. These are his eternal, part of his eternal pastimes to spread the Ekadashi stories, the glories of Ekadashi within the material world for the benefit of all conditioned souls. So these histories are in one sense made by him only. They come about by his arrangement. So definitely he knows what is taking place, but he's showing by example. Evam parampara pratam imam rajar suyuvidu. So this is the way that we have to receive knowledge, through the parampara system. Once a very pious Brahmana named Sumedha resided in Kampilya with his wife, Pavitra, who was extremely chaste and devoted to her husband. On account of having committed some sin in his previous life, Sumedha was without any money or food grains, and even though he begged many people for food, he could not obtain any substantial amount. He hardly had adequate food, clothing, or shelter for himself and his beautiful young wife, who was of such excellent character that she continued to serve Sumedha faithfully despite their poverty. When guests would come to their home, Pavitra Mataji would give them her own food, and although she often went hungry, her beautiful lotus-like face never faded. This fasting made her weak, but her affection for Sumedha remained unbreakable. So this is a beautiful display of chastity. This is actually Stri Dharma. To be chaste and faithful to the husband and to serve the husband is the glorious religious principle for a woman, which makes her famous throughout the whole universe. The more one is chaste, the more a woman is chaste to the husband, the more she's appreciated by all saintly persons and demigods. So, and you can see that her faith and love for her husband never diminished. Even not so long ago, Srila Prabhupada said that he had witnessed that in India, that there was this beggar who was in the street begging, and his wife was taking care of him. I believe the beggar even had some sort of bodily disformation, but he was very clean, so nice haircut, clothes were clean and everything, which means that the wife was nightly taking care of him. He was combed nicely and so on. So she did not say that, oh, my husband is not a beggar, I will go away and find someone else. No, there was this very, very tight bound between husband and wife in former days, especially because, first of all, young men were trained to not associate freely with women, which means that they did not develop this mentality to think that women are, I can enjoy many of them. When a man is let loose to associate with many women, he has got the opportunity for illicit sex, and he will take for granted his wife in the future. Whereas when a man is restricted to associate with any women, naturally he will develop this lust for wanting to be in a relationship with a woman, and therefore any girl that will be presented to him he will accept. The example is that when one is hungry, any foodstuff is palatable, in the sense that hunger creates appetite, not necessarily the foodstuff. Even though one might be completely full, even though there's the best dishes ever, one will not want to enjoy this dish, you will not feel appetite. So similarly, when there's restrictions on both sides, and then the parents make the arrangement of marriage, already the attraction is very strong, because senses want to be satisfied. That is one thing. And then on the girl's side, she was married very early, which means that as soon as the onset of menses came, lust awakens in the body, she already knows who her husband is, and she gets married to that husband, which means one man only entered her mind, so that is very fixed. Her intelligence is fixed on one man and has never even deviated from that. So they are married at a very young age, like say the girl, 11-year-old, the man 20-year-old, something like this. And then when they get married, it is as strong as cement, and they would not even consider separating. Of course, there might be some quarrels sometimes, but separation is never even dreamed of. So this is one of the examples that we're seeing here. So before we continue, I'd like to share a couple of verses concerning the chastity of women. So this is 7:11:25. So Strinam chapati devanam tat chushrusha nukulata tad bhandushu anuvrittischa nityam tad vrattadharanam. To render service to the husband, to be always favorably disposed toward the husband, to be equally well disposed toward the husband's relatives and friends, and to follow the vows of the husband. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women described as chaste. So always favorably disposed, not that to challenge the husband, go against the husband's wishes. To be equally well disposed toward her husband's relatives. So not that I don't like your mother, I don't like your sister, and so on. Dislike might be there. After all, we have got different natures and so on. But because they are related to the husband, no. I will not let my own sense gratification come in the way. They are as respectable as my husband is. And to follow the vows of the husband. If the husband desires to fast or so on, a chaste wife should follow in the best of her ability, just like Sita Devi. She was not supposed to go to the forest, but she decided to go. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women described as chaste. So in the next verse also we find, I believe it is 26 and 27 together. Yes. A chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband, always wearing clean and attractive garments. She should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids, so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful, controlling her senses, and speaking in sweet words, a chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love, according to time and circumstances. So when a wife decorates herself nicely with golden ornaments, it makes everything auspicious. As soon as the husband beholds his wife, he is very pleased by her appearance. Now, and for the pleasure of the husband, not that I'm decorating myself like this so that I can take selfies and post on social media on my own. No, a chaste woman would not post pictures of herself alone. Actually, that is not the etiquette. She should not be seen in public without her husband. Of course, this is Kali Yoga. You know, we cannot follow everything very strictly, but at least for social media, Mataji should post pictures of themselves with their husbands or their children at least, but not on their own. Because on their own means the thoughts of exploitation will more easily gather within the mind of lower class men, or even men of discrimination. It might cause agitation. But when the husband is there, immediately there's a barrier of protection that is naturally seen. Always wearing clean and attractive garments. So that is nice. So the garment should be clean, not old garments. She should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids, so that the entire house is always pure and clean. So when the husband, generally husband works, so when he comes back from work and he sees the house very clean, very nice, immediately it revigorates his energy. Then he just needs to maybe wash his feet, have a meal, and that's it. His tiredness is practically gone. And if he has beautiful incense offered to the Lord and he sees that everything is nice and clean, immediately the husband is satisfied, and because the husband is satisfied, he will naturally be less maybe irritable or grumpy, and the whole atmosphere in the house is much better. So that is a very important aspect, to always have the household paraphernalia and everything arranged nicely. And yes, so that is good for the mind. Everything that we speak here is not to be understood as separate from Krishna consciousness. No, these are all principles that are to be followed to help us practice Krishna consciousness in a peaceful and clean environment. We're not speaking of this simply for the sake that women have to be like this because men are superior and so on. There is always the goal of advancing spiritually behind every single Vedic rules and regulation. And this Stri Dharma, these religious principles for women, are very, very important, because women are, I mean, if women degrade, the entire society degrades. So this is very important to understand, and this wife that we're reading of her history at the moment was trying her best to serve her husband, even despite such heavy situation that they were completely poor. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful. This is something. So truthfulness is something that has it's a tapasya. It's an austerity that has to be performed, especially for women who tend to have a nature that is not straightforward. They would try to generally reach their goal by going in a roundabout way, or even when they try to find out some truth, they might adopt some lies in order to find out. So that is sometimes seen in women's nature. So not with the husband, at least. This should not be there. The wife should be revealing her mind to the husband. The husband is the spiritual master of the wife, and he can guide better than the wife's own mind. Therefore, she should not trust her own mind and intelligence. She should always double check with the husband. Controlling her senses and speaking in sweet words. This is a great disturbance for a man when he's at home and the wife uses harsh languages with the kids, or speaking about others, or even worse, on the husband himself. So a woman's mouth is naturally attractive with her smiling face and so on. So if very harsh, heavy, pounding words come out of her mouth, it just shatters the whole image of the chaste woman. A woman should learn to speak nicely, pleasing words. A chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love according to time and circumstances. So this is an art that women have to develop, is to understand the mood of the husband according to time and circumstances, and how should I deal with him now. Not that how I dealt with him yesterday evening is the same way I should deal with him today evening. There has to be proper analysis of the mood and behavior of the husband. This is 7:11:28. A chaste woman should not be greedy, but satisfied in all circumstances. So now we are seeing the exemplary woman showing this in today's Ekadashi story. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. So you see, this is important here, that she should know what is right, what is wrong. And how does she know? She might not have time to read everything. Well, that means she should approach the husband to inquire. So what is to be done in this case? Why is this happening? Why is this happening in this way in the association of devotees? You know, so she should try to understand everything through Shastra as explained by her husband. In this way she will get, of course it's not that she should not read, she should read as much as she can, but generally mothers, right, they are more busy with the children at home. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully, and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. So okay, of course it's not that the woman should remain like this even though the husband is a drunkard, number one, you know, eats meat, gambles, goes sees other women and so on. If he's addicted to these sinful activities, then the wife has the right to leave him, but not to seek another husband, but to surrender to Krishna, to somehow or other seek some protection, maybe go back to the father's house, or if there's any temple that is willing to protect her, the temple authorities can make arrangement for that. So okay, we shall again go. Seeing all this and lamenting his bad luck, Sumedha one day said to Pavitra, "My dear wife, O most beautiful one, I beg alms from the rich, but receive scarcely a scrap. What am I to do? What possible relief is there for our plight? Where should I go for relief? O most obedient and loving wife, without enough wealth, household affairs are never successful. Therefore please permit me to go abroad and attain some wealth. If I make such an effort, I shall certainly obtain whatever fortune I am destined to enjoy. Without making some endeavor, a person cannot satisfy his desires or meet his needs. Thus wise men have said that enthusiastic endeavor is always auspicious." Yes, that is a fact. We have to be enthusiastic in our endeavor, but our endeavor has to be guided according to Shastra. And the understanding is that we must be active, but at the same time, we should understand that we are not the doer of our result. The result will come according to the Lord's arrangement. That's all. So we should be depending on the mercy of the Lord, but at the same time not be a lazy fellow that simply sits down. Because one cannot even bring about the success of his own karma if he simply sits down. No, this sitting down would create an adverse effect. So there's 5 causes for the accomplishment of every action, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So one of them is the endeavor, the different types of endeavor, you see. But ultimately everything is according to the super soul, who will judge according to the specific living entity's past karma. And we can see in today's story that even though he was begging to rich people and so on, he didn't have enough to maintain his wife. So now he's getting the intelligence that let me try something else. Upon hearing this from her husband as he spoke these words, Pavitra joined her palms, and her eye brimming with tears spoke to him with great respect and affection. "I think there is no one greater or more learned than you, my dear. One who, though in misery, is interested in the welfare of others, speaks just as you have. However, the scriptures state that whatever wealth a person attains in his life is due to his having given charity in previous lives, and that if one has not given charity in previous lives, then even though he may sit atop a mount of gold as big as Mount Sumeru, he will still remain poor. Whatever charity a person gives in the form of education, money, fertile land, and the like is returned to him in the future lifetime. We gain what we have given, when given with a good heart. Indeed, whatever the Lord of Destiny, the Creator, has written as one's fortune will certainly come to pass. No one attains any wealth without having given in charity in his previous life. O best of the Brahmanas, since we are now poor, In our previous lives, neither you nor I must have given any sufficient charity to worthy persons. Therefore, gracious husband, you should remain here with me. Without you, I cannot live even a moment. So this is very interesting. It's not that the wife cannot also give advice to the husband. No. We learn many times great women giving very good advice to their husband. So she should be there as an assistant, and the husband should consider nicely what the wife is saying. Not that you're a woman, I won't listen to you. Not like that. We hear from the story of Bali and Sugriva that when Sugriva went to challenge Bali, his brother, he lost the first time. And then Lord Ram said, no, you wear this garland, now you go a second time, then I will kill Bali. So when Sugriva went there to challenge again, so Bali's wife said, now he has come a second time. That means he has a means to kill you. So don't go out, you will be killed this time. So Bali did not listen, and he went and he got killed. So in this way we hear many instances where women have given wonderful advice to their husband. And another thing is that although the man, from a material point of view, he thought, let me endeavor to try to fix this situation materially. Although from an ignorant point of view, that is good, because that is the mode of passion. Mode of passion is always better than the mode of ignorance, because it brings about activity, whereas the mode of ignorance is simply inertia and destruction. The wife brought the understanding of the husband to a transcendental level that deals with the soul, which is, you will not get any fortune even if you travel left and right like this by material means. So by a material arrangement to try to counteract another material arrangement is described by Srila Narada Muni to King Prachinabarhishat in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as trying to counteract an illusion with another illusion. When one is dreaming, there's no way to counteract the dream but to wake up. You cannot simply try to fight off the dream within the dream. You have to wake up. So, very good advice by this chaste lady. Bereft of her husband, a woman is not welcomed by her father, mother, brother, father-in-law, or any other family members. Everyone will say, you have lost your husband, you are bad luck, you are bad luck personified. In this way I shall be criticized severely. Please therefore stay with me and be satisfied with whatever wealth we get. Whatever is distant, we shall obtain in due course of time and enjoy her in perfect happiness. Yes, so a wife who separates herself from her husband, or a husband who goes away from the wife, is a great calamity for the woman. She will be seen as unchaste. She will be seen as not wanted, as not having been able to serve the husband properly, as not loved. So this is even in Western society, although they divorce, there's always this understanding that she had a man, now she's going for another one, and after that one she will go for another one. Even in a society that is fallen and is based on sex life, this understanding is still there in a minute way. So what to speak in a strict Hindu society that is very conservative. Hearing these plaintive words from his wife, Sumedha decided to remain in their native village. One day the great sage Kaundinya arrived at their place, and upon seeing him, the Brahmana Sumedha and his wife stood up before him and then offered him their respectful obeisances. With his head bowed, Sumedha welcomed him. We are very fortunate to behold you here today, O wisest of sages. My life has become successful, and I am much obliged to you. Sumedha offered Kaundinya Muni a comfortable seat and highly praised his austerities and learning. Just by having your darshan today, said Sumedha, I have become very fortunate. The poor Brahmana couple fed the sage as sumptuously as they could afford to, according to their means, and afterwards Pavitra asked the mendicant, almost learned one, what process can we follow to be relieved of our poverty? How can a person who has not given anything in charity in his previous life get a good family, much wealth, and a fine education in this life? My husband wants to leave me here and go abroad to beg alms, but I have earnestly prayed to him to stay here with me. I humbly told him that if one lacks wealth in the present life, it is because of not having given sufficient charity in previous lifetimes, and so he has consented to remain here. It is only due to my great fortune that you have so mercifully come here today. Now, we are certain to see the end of our poverty very soon. So the wife, being very intelligent, understood that this saintly person is the means to our relief from this suffering. So now this Ekadashi Vrata will be presented as a what is this called? Atonement, as an atonement for past sins. So by following this Ekadashi Vrata, definitely you can eradicate sins. But for Vaishnava, this Ekadashi Vrata is to try to increase, we follow for increasing our love of God. By what? By diminishing the demands of the body, eating and sleeping, and by increasing devotional service. When I don't eat or eat less, I naturally have more time for chanting. So we try to increase our chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as well as reading more of Srila Prabhupada's books. So that is the aim. But still, because people are generally attached to all these four material opulence, so beauty, wealth, family heritage or education, and liberation, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately liberation. And all this swimming within these four types of opulence. So if I open a hospital, in my next life I will be very, very much healthy, very strong body. If I give in charity, open schools, I will be very learned. I give a lot of money, I will be very rich. And the wife said that you must give charity in a pleasant mood. So that is described in the Bhagavad Gita, that charity in the mode of goodness is given to a worthy person, which is a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. And at the proper time, there is auspicious timing for that, and not in a grudging mood, which means very open-hearted. Not that I am giving 1,000 here, I could have bought so many things with this. Not like that, not holding back, but really free, a heart filled with, freely given, not to be a miser. So in this way, and according to the person that we give in charity, we will receive many, many, many more times, or just the same amount in the next life. We give to someone who's not very worthy, we might get only the same amount in the next life. But if we give to a Brahmana Vaishnava who's engaged in spreading the glories of the Lord, we'll get thousands and thousands of times, even if we get only $100. This is what Shastra says. We should believe that. So why people like Elon Musk have got billions of dollars? He must have given to some devotees, or maybe some pious brahmanas, or like that, So in this way, continue. O best of the brahmanas, please tell us how we can be free from this perpetual misery brought on by poverty. O merciful one, kindly describe some means, a place of pilgrimage we may visit, a day of fasting we may observe, or an austerity we may perform, by which our ill fortune will end forever. Hearing this sincere supplication from the patient lady, the great sage Kandiya reflected silently for a moment and then said, "There is a fast day very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari. Fasting on this day nullifies all kinds of sins and removes all miseries caused by poverty. This fast day, which occurs during the dark part of the extra leap year month, is known as Paramā Ekādaśī. It is the topmost day of Lord Vishnu, hence the name Parama. This extra month, dark fortnight Ekadashi bestows all the necessities of life, such as money and food grains, and at last gives liberation. When the evening of this day comes, one should begin singing the glories of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, and one should continue through the entire night." So this is a vrata that is found in many of the Ekadashi stories, that one should not sleep at all, and the entire night should simply be engaged in Shravanam Kirtanam, singing and reading about or hearing about the glories of the Lord. So starting from the evening, so tomorrow, actually I do not know when I'll be uploading that. It might be uploaded on the same day. So this year, 2023, this is August 12th is the Ekadashi. So but I'm recording this on August 11th evening. So tomorrow evening, the day of the Ekadashi, August 12th for 2023, evening time, Paramā Ekādaśī, one should start to glorify the Lord. So that coincides with the program that Srila Prabhupada has given us, which is this, Gaura Arti, which starts, or Sandhya Arti, which starts evening time. So one can begin with this and then continue, and if one is capable of doing it, you should remain whole night. This holy fast was once observed faithfully by Lord Kuvera. When Lord Śiva saw how strictly he had fasted, Śiva became pleased and made Kuvera the treasurer of heaven. Oh, so we can understand that Kuvera attained his position by Lord Śiva, due to Lord Shiva's blessing, and Kuvera became the treasurer of heaven because of this ekadashi. Also, King Hariścandra fasted on this ekadashi after his dear wife and son had been sold, and the king was able to get them back. Thereafter he ruled his kingdom with no further impediments. Therefore, O broad-eyed lady, you also should observe the sacred fast of Paramā Ekādaśī, following all the appropriate rules and regulations and remaining awake all night. Lord Shri Krishna continued, O Yudhishthira, son of Pandu, in this way Kaundiya Muni mercifully and affectionately instructed Pavitra about the Paramā Ekādaśī fast. Then he said to Sumedha, on the Dvadashi, the day after Ekadashi, you should vow to observe Pancharatrika fasting according to all the rules and regulations. After taking a bath early in the morning, you and your good wife, along with both your parents and hers, should fast for 5 days according to your ability. Then you will all become eligible to return home to the abode of Lord Vishnu. Wow. So here we have very heavy fast. Fasting for 5 days according to your ability. My father fasted for 5 days once. He was only drinking water. For 5 days straight he did that. I do not know in which circumstances he had done that, but he did tell me. So it is definitely doable, but one has to have very strong determination. One should not try this unless he is very much convinced, that this ekadashi is very beneficial for him. And also, I mean to say, if one is overweight, has got too much weight in the body, that is a very good vow, because definitely fasting for so many days will reduce the amount of fat in the body greatly. And will shrink the size of the stomach also, which is one of the causes why one who is overweight eats more, is because simply he doesn't feel full. He needs to fill the stomach because the stomach has expanded. So anyway, but one should not simply lie down and almost die and do nothing and then start to lack faith in Krishna, that what is this, I'm suffering so much, what is this Krishna consciousness. If it creates an adverse effect and you cannot be engaged in service, then better not go that way. If one can be simply engaged in service, doing some book distribution for 5 days and so on, that is much better. But for those who cannot, then such vows are there. A person who simply makes use of only one seed during these 5 days goes to the heavenly planets. Whoever feeds qualified Brahmana nicely on these 5 days has in effect fed all the demigods, all human beings, and even all the demons. Whoever donates a pot of drinking water to a twice-born Brahmana during this 5-day period will gain merit equal to that gained by donating the entire planet in charity. Anyone who gives a learned person a pot filled with sesame seeds resides in heaven for as many years as there are seeds in the pot. One who donates a pot filled with golden ghee will surely go to the abode of the sun god after fully enjoying the pleasures of this earthly planet. Whoever remains celibate during these 5 days will attain celestial happiness and enjoy with the maidens of Indraloka. Therefore, both of you, Sumedha and Pavitra, should fast during these 5 days of Pancharatrika, in order to be rewarded with ample grains and wealth for the rest of your lives on this planet. The spiritual world will be your abode thereafter. So, now you see, for them, fasting for 5 days will not be so hard because they're already accustomed to austerity. And this sometimes is the mercy of the Lord. When the Lord takes away the wealth of someone, He's forcing that person to perform austerity, because one who has got no money naturally will become more austere. And that is described in so 10:10:15 here. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:10:15. A poverty-stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penances because he does not have the wealth to possess anything. Thus his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of Providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him, because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego. So we can see that to be brought down to poverty-stricken state reduces our false ego, our false prestige, that I'm big and I'm the controller, right? So that is seen here. So this is what has happened to this couple, and now they are going to be doing this this fast. Anyone who observes a fast on Paramā Ekādaśī and also the fast of Pancharatrika is freed from all his sins, and after enjoying life he returns to Vishnu Loka, as did the Brahmana Sumedha and his faithful wife, Pavitra. It is impossible, O Yudhishthira, to calculate the extent of the merit one obtains by fasting on Paramā Ekādaśī, for such an observant is equal to bathing in all places of pilgrimage, such as Pushkara Lake and the Ganges River, giving cows in charity, and performing all sorts of other religious activities. One who fasts on this day has also completed the offerings of oblation to his forefathers in Gaya. He has in effect fasted on all other auspicious days. So, as we can see, there's different gradation of auspicious activities. This ekadashi is so auspicious that immediately you're doing all these other pious activities enjoined in the Vedas. As in the social order, the Brahmanas are considered the best. As amongst four-legged creatures, the cow is the best, and among demigods, or Indra is the best. So among all months, the extra month of leap year is the best. The Pancharatrika fast, the fast of 5 days in the extra leap year month, is said to remove all kinds of abominable sins. But the Pancharatrika fast, together with the fast of Parama and Paramā Ekādaśī, destroys all a person's sins. If a person is unable to fast on these days, he should observe the fasts during the extra month according to his ability. A person who, having received a human birth, does not take a proper bath during this extra month and then observes these ekadashis, which are very dear to Lord Hari, commits suicide and suffers in the cycles of 8,400,000 species. The rare human birth is meant for accumulating merit and at last achieving liberating release from this material world. Therefore, one should by all means observe fasting on this auspicious Paramā Ekādaśī. Now we might ask, well, what's the use? You know, everything that is mentioned here, most of the things mentioned here are material gains. Of course, it was mentioned also that one will go back to the abode of Lord Vishnu. So that can be, you know, the motivation behind doing this case, that I want to go back home, back to Godhead. But the thing is that it's according to the also desire of the performer. If one does this to gain material gain, obviously he will gain his merit. If he's doing this with faith, he will get what he wants, right? But if one does this for advancing spiritually, for pleasing the Supreme Lord, because this is pleasing to Krishna, to get closer to Krishna, to develop love of God, he will also get what he wants. So this fortune is described in different ways. So it is not that fortune is all the same thing. There's different types of fortune. Actually, there's 3. So here they are. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 45. In the purport, Prabhupada explained from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained this point. In this bhagya, fortune, the result of an accident or something else. In the scriptures, devotional service and pious activity are considered fortunate. Pious activities can be divided into 3 categories. Pious activities that awaken one's dormant Krishna consciousness, so this is what we should be after, are called Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. So Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti are the pious activity that we should be aiming for. Pious activity that bestow material opulence are called Bhogunmukhi. And pious activities that enable the living entity to merge into the existence of the Supreme are called Mokshonmukhi. So we can see this Ekadashi speaks especially of giving material wealth and ultimately going back to Krishna, back to Godhead. These last 2 awards of pious activity are not actually fortunate. Pious activities are fortunate when they help one become Krishna conscious. The good fortune of Bhakti Unmukhi is attainable only when one comes in contact with a devotee. By associating with a devotee willingly or unwillingly, one advances in devotional service, and thus one's dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened. So you see, so even this Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti can only happen when one comes in contact with a devotee. So then what is the cause that one comes in contact with a devotee? Then is there a further cause for that? Well, there's a plan, right? There's a plan from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord says that He wishes to purify the whole universe with His devotees. That means that He sends His devotees everywhere. That means that everybody will get the chance to see a devotee. And demons will degrade themselves by offending devotees. And pious people will gain merit by being respectful to devotees in this way. So it is according to one's desire ultimately, that does one want to be God, or does one want to go closer to God, you know, in this way. So free will is the when we boil down causes of the material world, it comes down to misuse of free will by the living entity, the puny living entity, us. Okay, where is this? Yeah. No, what is that? Where did I put? Okay. Lord Shri Krishna concluded, O sinless Yudhishthira, as you have requested, I have described to you the wonderful merit one can attain by fasting on the ekadashi named Parama, which occurs during the dark part of the extra leap year month. You should observe this fast if at all possible. King Yudhishthira did exactly as Lord Krishna had instructed, and so did all his brothers and their wife Draupadi. After enjoying pleasures rarely achieved in the material world, they returned home back to Godhead. Whoever, after taking a proper bath, observes a fast on these 2 extra months, ekadashis, on these 2 extra months, it seems like there's 2 extra months on the leap year. Ekadashis, there's 2 extra ekadashi. The way it's translated here, 2 extra month ekadashi. The way it's translated here is a bit confusing, but there's 2 extra ekadashi, so here we have the answer. Ekadashis will go to heaven and finally attain to the abode of Shri Vishnu. And as he travels there, he will be praised and prayed to by all the demigods. So this we have learned, for example, in the liberation of Sati, the wife of King Prithu. King Prithu and his wife, as they went back to Godhead, back to Godhead, they surpassed all the demigods. They were going higher and higher and higher and even higher than Satyaloka. So all the demigods were praising, seeing them, in their pure form, going back to the kingdom of God. They were praising. They have surpassed us. They have surpassed all the demigods, and so on. So yes, thus ends the Vrajavasi narration of the glories of Paramā Ekādaśī, the Ekadashi that occurs during the dark fortnight of the extra leap year month from the Skanda Purana. So there are some notes here that we can read. The revealed scriptures declare Udyoginaha Singha Upaiti Lakshmi Dayavena Deyatika Purushaha Vadanti. One who endeavors enthusiastically will certainly attain success, but one who merely says, I accept my lot in life, is a lazy man. Let's see. So that's why activity has to be there. Not that, I accept what I have. Of course, that is for karma kanda. Those who are in a karma kandic mindset should be actually encouraged towards activity. But one who has actually realized that nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vividati kaman, yo vidadhati kaman, which means that the singular eternal is providing for the plural eternal. So if one has got this faith that Krishna will provide, therefore I will not over endeavor for my earnings, that is a different thing. Purva janmarjitam vidya, purva janmarjitam dhanam, purva janmarjitam kanya agre dhavatihi. There's no diacritics. Transcendental knowledge, spiritual education, satisfying wealth, and pleasing family members are acquired by a person who has given profuse charity. Whatever good a person does return to him manyfold. In Manu Niti, Manu Maharaj says, Bhagyam phalanti sarvatra nachai vidya nacha paurusham. Whatever is predestined by Vidhata, the fortune maker, will surely happen. One's so-called good education, skill and enthusiasm will not necessarily guarantee to bring one success. The Niti Shastra says, Vinashraye natishtanti panditaha vanitalataha. Without proper shelter and support, the following three things cannot survive: a learned man, a brahmana, a woman, and a creeper. Therefore, the modern women's liberation... Okay, this is probably simply written by the one who has translated. We can see what he's saying. Therefore, the modern women's liberation movement is a total failure. Furthermore, the Garuda Purana states, Pati dharma pati sargaha, pati hi paramaha tapaha patiri pritim apanne priyante sarvadevata. A chaste woman always thinks that pleasing her spiritually situated husband is her heavenly pleasure, utmost duty, and greatest austerity. If her husband is pleased, as Kulottama, Vishnu personified, she thinks the Supreme Lord and all the demigods are pleased. The Supreme Lord includes all the devatas, demigods. So this is it. And this is... yeah. Okay, so we have finished this story. It is a nice story. So I wish you all a happy Ekadashi. I hope that you are performing some austerity in order to advance spiritually. I hope you have appreciated this presentation, this narration of the Paramā Ekādaśī. And yes, so this austerity that we are seeing from this lady here has also been described in different stories in the Puranas. So for example, this is Archie, Queen Archie, that's it. Just now I forgot the name of King Prithu's wife. Archie is her name. So this is 423:20. Although she was not accustomed to such difficulties, Queen Archie followed her husband in the regulative principles of living in the forests like great sages. She lay down on the ground and ate only fruits, flowers and leaves, and because she was not fit for these activities, she became frail and thin. Yet because of the pleasure she derived in serving her husband, she did not feel any difficulties. Just see, so fixed in the serving of her husband that her pleasure depends on her husband's pleasure. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadam, yasya prasadam nagati kitopi. A woman cannot be happy if her husband is unhappy with her. Not possible. She will feel disturbed. Similarly, if the husband is very happy with her, naturally the wife would become pleased. That my husband is pleased with me. That would be her source of happiness. So I hope that our Matajis can take also very much inspiration from this very chaste lady in this story. And we hope that you have all appreciated this story. So we shall end here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Nantapati Vaishnav ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Janitai Gop Ramanande. Paramā Ekādaśī ki jai, Hari Hari Bol.